The CIS Azure Benchmark Section 2.1.12 covers enabling Microsoft Defender for IoT. This is a Level 2 recommendation, so added cost and complexity should be expected. The cool thing about the IoT offering from Azure is that it doesn't cover just what you would expect in the name. So IoT, being Internet of Things, has a very specific expectation, but this service also offers protections for OT, or operational technology, as well as ICS. So it provides several features, one of which is automated asset discovery. So this is done through a span or tap that's placed on a switch in the environment that allows that data to be mirrored and analyzed by this service in order to discover assets that would otherwise be difficult or impossible to discover. This service uses agentless discovery of IoT, ICS, and OT assets in your environment. This can be done in two ways. The first is using a span port on your switch. The second would be using a network tap. And in either case, that information is sent to Defender for Cloud and analyzed in order to provide information that can be used for detection and alerts with this service. One of the interesting features of this service is the automated asset discovery. This allows you to identify devices that would otherwise be difficult to identify using normal scanning or asset discovery techniques. This uses the information that was sent to Defender for Cloud. It's analyzed to identify MAC addresses and other communications related to these ICS, OT, and IoT devices. This service also offers continuous monitoring of previous identified assets. This looks for things like changes in firmware, software, and communication patterns. The goal here is to identify any changes to the device that might indicate that malicious activity has taken place. So an example that you might see is when firmware is updated on a device, even if this was an intentional firmware update, Defender for Cloud will actually alert on that to give you a chance to go in and investigate and determine whether that was done by an engineer or if that change may have been made in a malicious way by someone that gained unauthorized access in this environment. This service supports multiple protocols, including Modbus, BACnet, Siemens S7, and multiple others. There's a list of over 100 that are supported, and you can find more information in the Microsoft Learn module covering this topic. One other thing to keep in mind is that there's a separate active scanning feature that exists as part of this service. Now, the normal advice for OT, IoT, and ICS devices is do not scan. And the reason for that is that most of them have very fragile IP stacks and tend to fall over from just very simple scanning activity. What's different here is that Microsoft actually works with vendors to identify different techniques that can be used to determine software, firmware, and communications on these devices that can allow them to fingerprint them and detect changes. So this active scanning technique can actually allow them to gather more information and integrate that into the information that's gathered through the passive analysis, giving you a better picture of the overall configuration and settings used on those devices. For more guidance on securing your Azure cloud environment, connect with one of our experts.